You know, this is the specimen of brainstem. And next to medulla, the middle part of the brainstem is the pons. Pons, this term means bridge. So bridge between what? It is a bridge between the cerebellum of this side and cerebellum of this side. And it is a bridge between the midbrain above and medulla below. And among the three parts of the brainstem, the pons, you see, it is convex anteriorly. It is more prominent anteriorly here. And anteriorly, if you closely see, this surface or ventral surface having so many ridges, transverse running ridges are there on both sides. These ridges, due to the fibers which are passing from the pons to the cerebellum of this side and also to the opposite side, called pontocerebellar fibers, and the nucleus inside the pons, they are pontine nucleus. So when a fiber comes from the cerebral cortex up to the pontine nucleus, called corticopontine fibers, then the corticopontine fibers of this side via the middle cerebellar peduncle go to cerebellum of this side and to the opposite side, called corticopontocerebellar fibers. For these pontocerebellar fibers, both crossed and uncrossed, these transverse ridges are formed. And in the midline, there is a sulcus, which lodges one important artery called basilar artery, which at the upper end of the pons divides into posterior cerebral artery. Both sides. This is one side, this is another side. So the terminal branches of basilar artery is the posterior cerebral artery. And before the posterior cerebral artery, another artery is there, which is a branch from the basilar artery, that is called superior cerebellar artery. Between the superior cerebellar artery and the posterior cerebral artery, two important cranial nerves pass. One is the oculomotor nerve and another one is the trochlear nerve, or third and fourth cranial nerves. They pass between the posterior cerebral and superior cerebellar artery. But the basilar artery, it is found below by the union or joining of two vertebral artery, one from this side, one from this side. So vertebral artery, basilar artery, then posterior cerebral artery. Then here is a junction between the pons and medulla called pontomedullary junction. And in between these two important parts, one sulcus is there. The sulcus is horizontal. And in this sulcus, between the pyramid and pons, one cranial nerve exits from this sulcus or pontomedullary junction. And that nerve is the sixth cranial nerve or abducens nerve. And if I go more laterally, above the olive, from the sulcus, again one cranial nerve exits, that is facial nerve. But it is having two roots, motor and sensory. Motor root medially, sensory root laterally. So above the polyp, from the sulcus, two roots of facial nerve. More laterally, here one again cranial nerve which exits, that is called eighth cranial nerve or the vestibulocochlear nerve. So from middle to lateral, the cranial nerve exit from this sulcus between the pons and medulla are sixth motor root of facial, sensory root of facial, and the eighth cranial nerve. And the peripheral end of this transverse sulcus, where the pons joins with the cerebellum and medulla, called pontocerebellar junction or pontocerebellar angle, the peripheral end of this lateral sulcus here. And again you can see from the medulla, this anteromedian fissure, it ends in a small depression here. This depression is called the foramen cecum. So foramen cecum, though it is a foramen, but no structure passed through this foramen cecum. And here only you get the deepest median structure between the pons and medulla. This one, foramen cecum. Let's see the posterior part. The posterior part, if you see this specimen, you cannot visit or you cannot observe or you cannot see the posterior part because of the presence of the cerebellum. Can you see the cerebellum? So posterior part is not visible in this specimen. But if I take out the cerebellum, it looks like this, then you can see the pons from posterior side. And here also the diamond shaped area is the fourth ventricle, lower half for the medulla, upper half for the pons. So this upper half of the fourth ventricle floor is found by the posterior surface of the pons. So this is the part or area of the pons, and this area for the medulla. So lower part of the pons and upper part of the medulla, they form the floor of the fourth ventricle. But upper part of the pons is here, which is not forming the floor. This is the closed part. Here also closed part of medulla, closed part of the pons. Open part of pons, open part of medulla. They will form the fourth ventricle. And anteriorly, if you trace laterally, both the sides, the pons is connected with the cerebellum. If you see this specimen again, once again, the pons is connected with the cerebellum. Can you see this one? This one. If I see this specimen, here also you can see more clearly these two. This one and this one called middle cerebellar peduncle. This one also called brachium pontis. Through this brachium, the fibers from pons to cerebellum called pontocerebellar fibers, they pass through this brachium into the cerebellum. So the middle part or pons is connected with the cerebellum via middle cerebellar peduncle of both sides. So within this pons, you will get the sixth nerve nucleus and seventh nerve nucleus, and also the sensory fiber of or sensory nucleus of fifth nerve and motor nucleus of fifth nerve. But I told you the 6th, 7th, 8th nerve, they are coming out through the sulcus. But the 5th nerve is motor and sensory. Both these roots, they are coming out from the ventral aspect of the pons, more or less at its middle part. So all these about the external features of the pons. This is the pons.